CBS 46 News presents Public Affairs on Peach.
Good morning. Welcome to Public Affairs on Peach. I'm Harry Samler. You work hard for the money you make. This morning on Public Affairs on Peach, we're going to warn you about people who want to take money from you. But first, you need to know your rights as a consumer. Here's one example. This is Glenda and Tony Compton. On Wednesday, the Comptons made our newscast when they testified before the state's Banking and Finance Committee. The Comptons have a lot on their plate. They are being sued for defaulting on a predatory loan. Now adding insult to injury, some random debt collector wants the Comptons to pay $175 for not returning their 10-plus-year-old cable TV box. The Comptons didn't know what to do. But we do, and so should you. The collector can try to get the money, but under Georgia law, it cannot sue the Comptons for a debt so old. There is a statute of limitations on debts like this. In Georgia, it's 4 years. Credit card debt is a little different. Collectors have 6 years to sue, but here's the catch. You will still have the debt. The Better Business Bureau says there are 3 options. Number 1, don't pay it, but that will kill your credit score. Number 2, agree on a payment plan. And option 3, pay the debt, but try to negotiate. Fred Ellsbury, president of the Atlanta Better Business Bureau, says paying off the debt is the best way to go because many collection agencies will accept less than the full amount.
And I can tell you, there'll be a great peace of mind knowing that this old debt from a time when you were struggling has been taken care of.
Okay, so you just saw Fred Ellsbury from the Atlanta Better Business Bureau. He joins us now to discuss issues. Good morning, to you. Thanks for joining us here. And we're going to start right off by talking about contracts. What should we know before we sign one?
Well, Harry, the first rule is to read it. You know, too many people sign contracts thinking they know what's in it when they don't really. You know, it's just as important to know what's in there as it is to be sure that things that you've been told are included in the contract. So read the contract before you sign it.
And I would imagine there are a lot of people out there who don't, or they just kind of skim through it, sign the dotted line, and that's it.
Well, you know, it's like when you go to a house closing, you've got all these papers to sign. Now, if you've been through several of them, you pretty much know what you're signing. But if you don't, you need to take the time to read it. And in most good cases, they're going to be sure that you understand what you're signing for. But know the people that you're contracting with. Don't just sign something for people you don't know, haven't researched, haven't made a conscious decision to do business with. But read that contract before you sign it.
And if you don't understand it?
If you don't understand it, ask. And if you don't get the right explanation, then say, well, I tell you what, let me think about this for a little bit and get back with you. There's no reason to be pressured into signing if there's something you have a question about.
All right, so let's talk about this. Which ones can be canceled within a 3-day cooling off period, and which ones can't?
Well, you know, it's a common myth, Harry, that contracts that you sign, you have a 3-day cooling off period. In the state of Georgia, that only applies on transactions over $25, which are most of the ones we're talking about here. But also it only applies if the transaction occurred away from the place of business or maybe at your home. So people who come to your door to sell things, you have a 3-day cooling off period there. Let's say that you go to a tent sale in a mall for an automobile, so you're away from the dealership. You have a 3-day cooling off period there. The other thing that the cooling off period may apply is that many companies will include in their contract a 3-day cooling off period, but that's not within the law, but it's within the contract itself. Those are the only times there's a cooling off period with a contract that you signed.
And the key is to know about that cooling off period.
You want to know. I mean, certainly if people come to your home or if you go to somewhere other than a place of business, you're going to know it applies. But if you're at a place of business, you want to be sure that contract, again, that you've read includes a 3-day cooling off period, or you understand that there is no cooling off period.
All right, I want to switch gears here. We want to talk about refund and exchange policies.
What do Georgians need to know?
Well, in the state of Georgia, there's no law that either requires that a company has a refunded exchange policy, and then even worse, there's no requirement that if they do, they have to tell you about it. And so the responsibility is on us as consumers to ask about that. And this is particularly true if you're buying a gift for somebody else or around the holidays. You want to know that before you have to bring it back or the person you gave it to bring it back. So again, the key is, in Georgia, no requirement that you even have one, and if you do, there's no requirement to tell you about it. Now, most businesses that are good customer service businesses have refund and exchange policies, and they include them on either the receipt or some notice around the cash register, but it's not a requirement from a legal standpoint.
All right, and real quick, I want to touch on this. If your debt's climbing, how do you decide what do you pay off first?
Well, first of all, you have to make the decision. Is this something I can do myself? Do I have the discipline to get out of this situation, or do I need help? If you need help, there's some good nonprofits like ClearPoint in our metro Atlanta area that can help you with that. But if you think that you've got the capacity and you've got the discipline, be sure to list your bills, know the interest rates that you're paying on those bills, and begin to pay off those high interest rates bills first. So pay the minimums on the lower interest rates, pay the maximum you can on that high interest rate, and just begin to knock those off one at a time. But it's important that you keep paying a little bit, at least the minimum, on all of those bills to keep it from tanking your credit report.
Fred Ellsbury, thanks so much for coming here and sharing that information
Thank
with
you,
us.
Harry.
All right, an attorney talks about other ways to protect your money when Public Affairs on Peach returns right after the break.